My name is Drew, and if you're watching this for the first time, please make sure to subscribe. This is the Life Taco Podcast. It's a podcast that's featured 4 singers from NBC's The Voice, 3 Major League Wrestling athletes, a Funny or Die featured cartoonist, and dozens of social media influencers, including my co-host, Marc Gomez, social media influencer with over 400,000 followers on Instagram and 2 million on TikTok. And welcome our guest to the show, Stone Cold Crazy, Major Richard Ojeda, here to share his radical woke agenda with us.
That's me. Radical woke agenda.
Thanks for coming.
How you doing, Major Ojeda?
Doing good. We finally got into the new house. I'm back in my office. So life is good. Everything's going really well here. I mean, I'm glad that we made the transition and left West Virginia and come to North Carolina. There's just so much more opportunities here for my family, and at the end of the day, I'm still doing what I do. I mean, I'm always going to be a part of politics, and I'm going to say what needs to be said. And if people don't like it, well, then that's just tough shit.
So on the last podcast you were on with me, which was a while back, you made a prediction that, and it was exactly what happened. Trump in court, that they would bring up that grab him by the P word, and they would find him guilty, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and sadly, it really was nothing more than just a hit to his bank account. Technically, what should happen is he should be disqualified from being able to seek any office whatsoever. I mean, right now he's the twice impeached, indicted sexual predator. So, and anybody out there that's willing to cast a vote in his direction is what's wrong with our country. We deserve so much better. I'm just sick and tired of these people making excuses for this guy. I'm so sick and tired of poor people who think that they're friggin' Republicans and supporting these jackaloons. And at the end of the day, they don't do a damn thing to help the lives of these people. I think about Southern West Virginia and think about the poverty that existed there. And literally every truck has a daggone Trump flag flying off the back of it. And Donald Trump would not allow these people to play one single round of golf on his golf courses because they're not the type of people that he cares about. He puts up this image like he cares about the common working man. And the truth is he's a liar. He is a liar, and he's also a pervert. So, we need to get rid of these jackaloons and those who support him.
Yeah, he wasn't even attracted to the person that he was accused of raping, but he couldn't tell the difference between her and his wife in pictures, though.
I mean, because at the end of the day, he is a liar. And, I mean, there is so much stuff that's going out around there. We know that him and Epstein were close. There was a 13-year-old child that was supposedly raped that disappeared right before the 2016 election. At the end of the day, there's enough photographs with Donald Trump sitting with Epstein, and these young girls surrounded them, sitting on their laps and stuff, that tells you all you need to know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. As you grow older, and this is something that I'm appreciative for. As you grow older, your desires age as well. My wife does not look like she did when we met. You there? Okay.
Yeah, we're here.
My wife does not look like she did when she was, 22 years old when we got married. But I am still very much attracted to my wife the way she is now. When I see a 21-year-old young lady, I don't look at them with, wow, they're hot. I look at them like they're a kid. And I mean, that's just how it is. I don't look at a young girl and think that's attractive. People that are sick look at young girls and think, woo. When you're in your daggone 60s and 70s and you're attracted to 15-year-old girls, and we know Donald Trump has said it many times, he's an absolute perv. He's a sick individual. And that's just the way that it is. And I really wish people would start paying more attention, because once again, you always hear, they told you exactly who they were. They're telling us who they are. We have to listen and realize who they are. There's not a person in this country who should cast a vote towards Donald Trump. And it's sad that groups like CNN would give him his own town hall and fill the audience with Trump supporters. I mean, and you know what? CNN is catching a lot of flack, and it's deserved, and they deserve to catch that flack. Nobody should have ever given Donald Trump a microphone to let him spew his garbage. But I am happy because it looks like E. Jean Carroll may take him back to court again for another defamation case, because he went on CNN and did the damn same thing that he did that cost him $5 million. So you know what? Let's put another $5 million in her pocket. I'm game with that.
Yeah, he flat out tells us like, with Ivanka, well, if she wasn't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
When President Trump talks about dating his own daughter.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird. Stop it. You know what? You are sick.
Far from protecting his daughter from being talked about as a sex object, he has encouraged it multiple times. On Howard Stern's radio show in 2004 and then again in 2006.
By the way, your daughter,
She's beautiful.
can I say this? A piece of ass. Yeah. She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
It's
She's
unbelievable.
tall. She's almost 6 feet tall.
Welcome the lovely Ivanka Trump.
Still, even Ivanka seemed confused when talk show host Wendy Williams asked about things the two have in common.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
Still, Donald Trump repeatedly points out how hot his daughter is, saying last year in a Rolling Stone article, "Yeah, she's really something, and what a beauty, that one. If I weren't happily married and, her father."
Because he's a pervert. Because a 13-year-old girl was attracted to him. And to me, that's it. I spent 4 years teaching in high school when I retired from the military. And those girls in that school were kids. And if you look at them in any other way other than they are children, then you've got a problem, and you probably shouldn't be nowhere near them. At the end of the day, we see it all the time. And once again, too, it amazes me how the Republican Party want to call Democrats the perverted ones, but every single other day, it's yet another Republican being caught doing the wrong things. It's another Republican Christian leader who gets caught, with his youth group. It's look. I did a live one night where I had 7 pages of Republican people that had been caught over the past 3 years. And these are the same people that blame the Democrats. But once again, it's like, when they blame others, what they're really doing is they're basically telling you what they're doing. And we've seen that from the get-go when it comes to Donald Trump. So, that's a problem. And I want him to be gone. I want him to be gone. I want everybody that supported him to be gone. I don't, it just sickens me, that our country has turned into this. And it only took electing one corrupt man to completely turn our democracy upside down, put our democracy at risk, and that's exactly what happened. And what's sad is that right now he's planning on doing it again. And once again, at his live town hall, they asked him, would you accept the 2024 election results? And he said, if I think they're fair. Understand that Donald Trump has never in his life lost at anything that he thought was fair. Donald Trump, Donald Trump's the kind of guy that if nobody was watching and a 7-year-old child walked into his office and was playing a game, Donald Trump would try to beat that child in that game. Not only beat that 7-year-old child, but destroy him bigly, because that's the type of person that he is. And he was raised to be that predator that he is. And he's always gotten away with it. And there have always been people that have stood up and threatened people so that they wouldn't go further. You know, an average person thinking that they can go after somebody like Donald Trump, when Donald Trump has a lawyer like Michael Cohen who would call them and say, I'm going to drag you through the courts until you are penniless. And we're going to win no matter what. So you either just accept it and move on, or we will destroy you. And when you're going against somebody with that kind of money and power, it tends to make people, you know, it tends to make people give up. You know, there is a story about how Donald Trump hired a man to paint the inside of one of his buildings. And the man come in there and the man laid out all these different types of paint brands. And he said, this paint over here is the best paint, but it's the most expensive. Here is the lowest paint, but it literally starts peeling a month after it's put on. What do you think Donald Trump asked the painter to paint? He said, take the cheapest paint and paint the building. So the guy takes it, he paints the entire building, and a month later, it starts to peel. Guess what? Michael Cohen calls that guy on behalf of Donald Trump and says, first off, I'm not paying you. And second off, if you don't get over here and fix this paint, I'm going to destroy you. So the painter ended up going and then buying the good paint out of his own pocket, painted the entire building, and didn't even get paid for it. And literally just felt like, at least he's not going to destroy me. You know, that's Donald Trump. That's what Donald Trump thinks about the working class citizens of this country. And it's amazing how stupid so many people are that still fall for this garbage. Donald Trump is the worst president ever. He is the worst human ever. And when he draws his last breath, make no mistake about it, I will be partying like a freaking rock star.
So I have other dumb Republicans, some other situations. I just figured we'll rapid fire them, and you can give your thoughts on them. GOP presidential candidate, never going to win. Vivek Ramaswamy is calling for 18 to 25-year-old voters to have their voting rights stripped and only given back if they can pass a test.
Well, you know, let me tell you something. First and foremost, if we actually required a test for people to pass before they could vote, the Republicans would lose bigly again, because all of these friggin' wannabe Republicans who are out here trying to talk about politics, and you can tell they don't know nothing, they can't spell the word, they would not be able to pass those tests. But make no mistake about it, there's another layer to this with what he is saying. And there's other people that are also basically saying the same thing. And that is, they're actually wanting to raise the voting age. And the reason for that is cynical. And the reason for it is sinister. The reason for that is because the young kids of this country are not as racist and negative as their parents are. You know, I'm going to tell you, I graduated from a place in southern West Virginia, and I can remember when I was that age, there was still a massive, huge sign that hung over top of a railroad bridge going into a community called Mud Fork that said, "Welcome to Mud Fork, home of the white man." No, and it had the N-word allowed. That was actually on display in my hometown for years. You know, where was the one leader that was elected that was willing to say, that's not right? See, that's the thing. You know, today, kids aren't like that. When I went back after I retired from the military and started teaching at the high school level, the one thing I noticed is I taught at a place called Chapmanville Regional High School. When I was a kid, Chapmanville was a sundown town. If you were an African-American and you were standing at the bus stop in Chapmanville, they would tell you that you had better get off this street when it gets dark, because if you don't, you're going to disappear. That's how racist that place was. When I went back and I taught school, some of the most popular kids in the entire school were kids of color. The reason for that's because all these kids that grew up in these communities, up in these hollers, where for the most part, they never really saw people of color. But instead of hating on them, the kids thought, let's enjoy a friendship and let's learn from these people. You know, I can remember when the cover of the Time magazine had the first person in southern West Virginia to ever be diagnosed with AIDS. And he was standing on the top of a mountain overlooking the town of Williamson, West Virginia. And it said, "One man stands alone." He was ran out of town because he was diagnosed with AIDS. You know, that's where I come from. And when I went back as a teacher, I also saw kids that were open about their being in the LGBTQ community. And they were some of the most popular kids. Everybody loved them. It wasn't hatred the way it was when I was a kid, because kids are tired of this garbage. Kids don't want to hate on everybody. Kids want to learn from each other, you know? And that is what's going on today. Our youth are tired of the bullshit arguments and the hating and hating a person because of the color of their skin, hating a person because how they pray. That's ludicrous. But yet that's what the Republicans preach. That's what they push. And right now, these young kids that are in college are not happy with the fact that their parents and grandparents are a bunch of racist asshats. So they're not voting that way. And right now, we know that these new young voters between the ages of 18 and 21 aren't going to be voting Republican. And that's why Republican lawmakers across this country at the state level and on the federal level are already trying to figure out ways of saying, hey, why don't we just raise the voting age so they don't have to worry about losing? Because they know that when it comes to the next election, they're not going to be able to secure the 18 to 21-year-old vote. And that's why they're against it. And that's why they're talking all this garbage and piss on that guy for even coming up with the idea that we need to do something like that. You know, people like that should be took out back and get the shit stomped out of them.
So Texas Republicans, where Marc's from, he lives in Texas. Republicans have introduced a bill to loosen gun laws after the Allen, Texas shooting, and to even allow guns in voting locations.
I can cuss on here, right?
Yeah.
They're all a bunch of pussies, is what it is. They're all too chicken shit to fight the real problem. So instead of doing things like literally, if we raise the age of being able to purchase an assault rifle to 21, that would give us 3 years. Do you realize that kids that go to high school and junior high, when they're coming up through school, that have problems, that have mental issues, that are artistic, that are you know, all these different types of you know, illnesses that, you know, kids face. When a kid turns 18 years of age, those records of while they were in school is completely shut off. You're not allowed to go look at those things. But make no mistake about it, a lot of those kids have serious issues. As a person who spent 4 years in the classroom teaching, I'm going to tell you there was lots of kids that I would not give a gun to for nothing in this world. We're talking about kids lashing out with anger issues, but the moment they turn 18, those records are sealed. So now that 18-year-old can walk into a store, and oh, by the way, I believe it was Uvalde, Texas, where that young man had graduated from high school and in the course of only 10 days went and purchased not one but 2 assault rifles and over 1,000 rounds and went into Uvalde and slaughtered 22 children and I believe 2 or 4 teachers. Now, make no mistake about it, if the gun owners or the store that sold him those guns had the ability to go back and look in his past, they would have said, this kid's got problems. This kid's got mental issues. He doesn't need a gun. But once again, doesn't exist because we seal those records. But had that young man been made to wait until he was 21, when he was 21 and went to purchase a weapon, they would probably go, this guy's got some issues. Because once again, he's got problems. And he proved that he's got problems because he slaughtered a bunch of children. You know, if we raised, all right, sorry about that. If we raised the age to purchasing assault rifles to 21, that would solve so many problems. If we also stop selling high capacity magazines, because as a person who spent 24 years in the military as a combat soldier and leader, I'm going to tell you that you don't need an assault rifle and 30 round magazines to kill a deer. If it takes you more than one shot to kill a deer, go buy your meat because you suck. Just stop it.
Yeah.
You're a shitty shot. And if you shoot a deer with an assault rifle, you've probably damaged it to the point where there's not much that is going to be worth eating. Because understand, let me show you something. I'll be right back. Because I believe in showing things. You see what this is? This will go through your shoulder. It'll come out the backside of your shoulder, and there'll be a hole about 1.5 inches where it completely went through. Now, do you see this little bastard right here? It's a lot smaller, isn't it?
Is that an AR bullet?
This little bastard right here will bounce off the bone structure. I can shoot you in the friggin' shoulder and it can come out your hip. And it's going to rip apart and it's going to tumble and it's going to tear and it is going to cripple you. This little bastard right here is evil. And the reason for this, the reason why we even have this, the reason why this was even brought about was because in the military, if I shoot the bad guy with this, it's going to literally cause 2 people to stop what they're doing because they've got to take care of this guy because he ain't going to be walking around. He's going to be in excruciating pain. He's probably going to die. But once again, the reason for this is because not only will I shoot a person and take them out of the fight, it's going to require 2 people to stop what they're doing to also try to help this guy. Because make no mistake about it, he's going to be in some serious friggin' pain. We don't need those type of rounds. We don't need those type of magazines. And, I'm going to tell you, half of these people out here, that carry a gun. I tell people all the time. And I tell them sometimes when I walk up to them in the store, because I always see these jackasses with their pistols sticking out. First and foremost, you're an asshole and you're an idiot too. Because if you're going to carry a pistol, then you should carry it concealed so that nobody knows that you have it. If you're walking around with the 6-shooter on your hip, you're just trying to daggone get people to notice you. And the truth is you're probably you're probably weak-minded. You probably couldn't whip your way out of a wet paper bag. And you're a fake. Because at the end of the day, and I tell them this, I say, if I was going to shoot this place up, the first person that would get a bullet to the back of their head would be you. Because then I'm going to take your pistol off of your hip and I'm going to have 2 weapons to daggone wreak havoc with. And that's what I tell them. Look, carry concealed. Carry a concealed weapon if you want to carry one. But nobody is impressed. Nobody in the military is impressed by the guy that's got an AR-15 on his back while he's trying to get him a Subway sandwich at Subway. It doesn't impress us. Those of us in the military, we laugh at those people. And they are quite funny too. Yeah.
So Louisiana Republicans have rejected exceptions for rape and incest in their new abortion ban, forcing children to deliver their rapist baby.
Yep. And by the way, Louisiana, have you been to Louisiana? Have you been down to Louisiana? I've been to Louisiana a couple of times. It amazes me that they got John Kennedy, their senator, who wants to talk smack about Mexico, and Louisiana's a third world country. I don't give two shits who listens to what I got to say. Louisiana is a third world country. You know, it's a shame. Same thing with Lindsey Graham. South Carolina is the #1 state in the United States of America for single-wide trailers. Single-wide trailers. You know, and here you got a guy that's been in the Senate for 40 damn years. He's not exactly helping out his people if your state is #1 in single-wide trailers. You're not exactly bringing opportunities for these people to elevate themselves out of poverty. You know, there's nothing wrong with living in a single-wide trailer, but when that's your claim to fame, that your state is the #1 place in America for single-wide trailers, maybe it's because you're not doing enough for your constituents for them to be able to elevate themselves. And I don't give two shits about these jackasses when it comes to abortion. This is about controlling a woman's body. That's exactly what this is. Half these damn people couldn't get a damn woman anyway. You know, it's absolute sickening. Nothing surprises me when it comes to that. You know, I'm a pro-choice guy. I think that a woman should have the right to decide what to do with her body and understand that we don't have anything that does the same thing to us. You know, how come we can't pass a law that says when you turn 18 years of age, you got to get a vasectomy? And only when you have found yourself a life partner that you go to a doctor with and have that conversation that says we are ready to be parents to go have a vasectomy reversed. There's no laws on the books like that now, are they? But you know what? What's one of the biggest problems with teenage pregnancies? And that is that young boys aren't protecting themselves properly, you know, but we're going to put everything on the shoulders of the young ladies is what we're going to do. You know, I think it's absolutely sickening, and it really is. And at the end of the day, it amazes me how our country, you know, we want to deny people in the LGBTQ community to be able to adopt kids because we think it's horrible and those kids are going to see horrible things, which, you know, I will tell you, I would more than happily see a young child be taken into a beautiful home where they have both two male parents or two female parents that are going to provide for them love, discipline, food, a warm place to sleep, versus refusing to allow that to happen and allowing these kids to continue out there living on the streets and dying of poverty and being preyed upon by absolute villainous people that absolutely prey on young kids of poverty.
Yeah. And not only do they want to lock them into pregnancies, they want to lock them into marriage. Republicans nationwide are pushing to repeal no-fault divorces. So they need proof that they've been abused or there's been some kind of infidelity just to get a divorce.
I've been living through a horrendous divorce. This was not my choice. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore.
Yeah, dude. You fucking suck. Who's surprised, man?
And in the state of Texas, that is completely permitted.
First of all, yeah, so woke ass liberal shithole Texas has these insane lib laws that says your wife can leave you if she wants to.
I've always believed that children need a mom and a dad, that divorce is horrible, but in today's legal system, my beliefs don't matter.
What?
In Texas, divorce is permitted when one party wants it, period.
Why do you keep saying that? If you suspect that your wife is plotting to leave you, you can actually handcuff her to the radiator and have a priest come and do an exorcism until she agrees to stay with you.
Yeah, infidelity. You know, and I don't want to hear jack shit about the Republican Party talking to me about infidelity. You know, you got a daggone guy that you want to elevate back to the highest seat in the land that has never, ever been honest with his spouses, period. He has cheated on every one of them with the new wife that he falls into. And that's an absolute fact. You know, it's absolutely a shame. I don't want no Republicans to try to talk to me about values. Piss on them.
5 days ago, Florida Republicans passed a bill to build roads using radioactive cancer-causing material. I'm assuming because of costs or something. But like it was banned by the FDA or EPA for 30 years, and now they're wanting to use it to build the roads, give construction workers cancer. Good.
I mean, go for it, Florida. I mean, at the end of the day, all you're doing is giving cancer to a whole bunch of friggin' racist old white people, right? Isn't that what Florida's made of? I mean, come on. You know, I can remember going down to Florida during COVID and people were telling me, you don't need to wear a mask here. We got DeSantis. What a bunch of dumbasses. You know, it amazes me. But you know what? Nothing surprises me when it comes to Florida. Nothing surprises me. You know, it's absolutely sick. You know, and Ron DeSantis is absolute trash. And of course, you know, Donald Trump, you know, he deserves to live in Florida. You know, nothing surprises me when it comes to, you know, legislation that comes out of these racist ass states. You know, and let that sink in. You're going to build roads with materials that we know cause cancers. So congratulations when those come through and fix them potholes in your neighborhoods. Yeah, you're going to know your drive's going to be smoother. Your kids are going to die, but hey, you know, Florida.
It's smoother.
Yeah, they're going to be able to drive smoother on better roads.
That's so dumb.
Maybe we'll just name the roads after all the dead kids. There we go. Problem solved, Florida.
The chairman of the Florida Republican Party tweeted on April 25th that his work is not done until there's no more Democrats in Florida.
Well, can I say what I want to say?
Yeah.
Fuck him. How about that? How about that? He ain't worth the shit. And you know what? Fine. Get all the Democrats out of Florida. Get them all out of Florida. Florida is going to crash. Florida's already crashing. You know, Ron DeSantis has recently signed a bill that is going after anybody who hires immigrants. Now, what he doesn't understand is that immigrant labor is absolutely needed all across this country. That's a fact, you know, and there are already farmers in Florida that are already saying that they're going to go bankrupt because once again, and here's the thing though, this is the thing though, this is something that is important. You know, if we didn't have people, when ICE shows up at a place and raids a place and takes 30% of their workforce away, the problem is that they're just taking those people away and sending them back over across the border. They're not doing anything to that damn boss who's hiring those people. And oh, by the way, he's probably not paying them an honest wage. They're probably paying those people pennies on the dollar. Now, I'm going to tell you, I come from Mexico. My family's from Jalisco. And I'm going to tell you, Mexico is a beautiful place. The only thing that Mexico lacks is Mexico does not have a security net for people. In Mexico, there is no welfare program. In Mexico, if you're poor, you're poor. And the only way you're not going to be poor is if you elevate yourself out of that. And there's very few opportunities to elevate yourself out of poverty. And that's a fact. Now, Mexico has some of the most beautiful art, some of the best history. It is absolutely amazing. You think the Alamo is tough? Piss on the Alamo. You ain't never heard of the Chapultepec, and you might want to research that to find 6 young kids who fought the United States Army to the death, and the last one struck the Mexican flag down from the top of the Chapultepec, which was a citadel military course, and he dove off the top to his death, wrapped in the flag to keep it from falling into the hands of the Americans. And that was when Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant were both brand new second lieutenants. It's a fact. And in every major city in Mexico, there is a monument to those 6 young boys. Fact. You know, I'll tell you, man, I don't know why this daggone thing's doing this. But I'm going to tell you, it angers me when I see people talking down about Mexico because you don't have a clue. They don't have a damn clue. Mexico is a beautiful place. And, you know, it pisses me off when these people act like they're better than the people of Mexico. You know, there's problems. There's cartels, you know, and to me, I tell people, put yourself in their shoes. Imagine if you had 3 children and your kids were between, you know, 12 and 15 years of age. And you lived in an area in Central or South America where most kids, by the time they turn 15 years of age, they're a mule for the cartels, or they're a trigger squeezer for the cartels. Because when there's no other opportunities except that, most people take that route. When I graduated from high school, it was dig coal, sell dope, join the army. Take your pick. I didn't want to dig coal because I had a whole bunch of family members that dug coal, and they always struggled. They were always on some type of a damn strike. And then I had a whole bunch of family members that all went to prison for drugs. So I chose the military, and the military did me just fine. But I'm going to tell you, I can't stand when I see people trying to talk down to Mexicans and Mexico, because make no mistake about it, I can show you places in Louisville, not Louisville, but I can show you places in Louisiana that are far worse off than any place they can find in Mexico, Central America, and South America. That's a fact.
Yeah, I was telling Marc before we started the podcast about.
We just talked about that.
Yeah, he wants to fine them $10,000 for every undocumented immigrant. What's he think they're going to do, though, when those businesses have to pay more money to those people because they're having to do jobs Mexicans did before, and they don't want to do them.
Yeah,
going to demand legalization then.
Yeah, the main issue is the fact that, they can get cheap wages and get what they want, which means more profit for them. And that's what it's about. If they had to hire Americans, and here's the thing too, everybody wants to talk all that crap about how, these Mexicans are coming across the border and taking people's jobs. They're taking jobs nobody else wants. They're taking jobs you can't find a person to do. And that's a fact. There's no, do you think anybody sets their sights and says, one day I can't wait, Jesus, help me to be able to find myself in the middle of some white guy's field where I'm picking tomatoes all day long and getting almost nothing for it. You have no idea the type of things that these people have to go through. And I'm going to tell you, our government is absolutely complicit on this, and they even do it in combat zones. I can remember being in Iraq, and all of the dining facilities that you went to, all the cleaners and half the cooks were third country nationals. They were from Pakistan, from India. And if you want to talk about some horrible conditions, these people were getting paid $2 damn a day by our government, by the way, to daggone do the work that they were doing. Some of them were killed in mortar and rocket attacks. Nobody even gave a shit. I can remember walking into some of their living areas, which was basically a small trailer, and literally at nighttime, they slept shoulder to shoulder. There was no beds, no cots. They all laid on the damn floor, and that's how they lived. And our government was completely fine with that. So, yeah, we got problems because we absolutely don't have a problem taking people that struggle and allowing them to continue struggling for us. Kind of reminds me of the thing, when I go overseas and I kill somebody that's the enemy of my country, I get medals for it. But if I come home and I kill my enemy, I go to prison for it. Thou shalt not kill unless you do it for us.
So the switching now, the Minnesota Senate voted 34-33 recently to legalize recreational marijuana. All Republicans voted against it.
Well, because Republicans are a bunch of jackasses that want people to struggle. Republicans are a bunch of jackasses that have their hands in the pockets of Big Pharma. I made West Virginia the 29th state to become legal for medical cannabis when I was a senator. And I remember my bill sitting idle for almost 3 weeks. And I went to the Health and Human Resources chairman of the committee. His name was Tom Takubo. And I said, Tom, why are you not running my bill? And he looked me in the face and he said, Big Pharma don't like it. So I went and I grabbed my microphone because I knew, and I learned as a state senator, as a young state senator, that when you grab that microphone, all the cameras zoom in on you. And I called his ass out. And I said that this is absolute garbage. And I ended up basically getting the people behind me. And then there was nothing they could do. They had to vote for it, and it passed. but understand that these people don't want no cannabis whatsoever because Big Pharma doesn't want it. But when Big Pharma figures out how they can control all the money, marijuana will be legalized everywhere. That's an absolute fact. It's all about the money. At the end of the day, medical cannabis is what's right to do, because there's a lot of drugs out there that you could absolutely be able to get rid of by allowing someone the ability to use medical cannabis, and that's an absolute fact. But understand that, these Republicans, they want to be able to, if they legalize it, it's only because they're trying to figure out how they can be the ones that are going to capitalize on the money. One of the things that my bill did was my bill said that anyone who voted on my bill would never be allowed to profit from it, which is the best way to be. It's not about money. It was about trying to help people. But make no mistake about it, there's a lot of people, the Republicans don't give two shits about the people when it comes down to campaign contributions, because that's not who funds their campaigns. Campaigns on the Republican Party are funded by corporate PACs, by the NRA, and things like that. Democrats will get small dollar donors, and that's how it works. Democrat campaigns are funded by the people, and Republicans are funded by Big Pharma. They're funded by the NRA. And if you look at the legislation that they push, it's all for them.
Yeah, and that's open record. There's a website called Open Secrets. If you want to look at who's paying all these politicians, you can see it on the website.
Absolutely.
Bernie tweeted that we need a 32-hour. Now I'm switching out of the.
Gotcha.
I'm tired of talking to them. Bernie tweeted that we need a 32-hour work week with no loss in pay in the U.S. Do you agree with that?
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, a 32-hour instead of a 40-hour, that's 4 days a week. There's nothing wrong with having a longer weekend. I mean, I will tell you that in the military, we lived for the 3-day and 4-day weekends. I mean, that was the best damn time. You got to spend more time. You got to travel a little farther out and maybe go back and see your family and things like that. And it was something that absolutely, increased the morale. Well, guess what? Increasing the morale on the job is important too. If a person goes to work with a smile on their face, that's a person that's going to produce for you. So I'm going to tell you that if you told a person, I'm going to pay you the same amount that I normally pay you a week, but I'm going to knock off 8 hours. I'm going to knock off a day. I'm going to tell you that they will absolutely do just as much as they did in that 5-day, maybe even more. Because the truth is, when a person is happy and they're productive and happy, holy shit, man, they can do anything. And at the end of the day, we see, it's not like we're making things up out of thin air. We've seen this stuff. This stuff happened. That's how it is up in Norway and Sweden and Finland and Denmark and Iceland and Germany. There's plenty of places out there that absolutely are following that. And it's absolutely wonderful. Their kids are happy. I mean, at the end of the day, when things work, they work. And I got it. They don't have the population that we have. But I'm going to tell you, there's no reason why we can't try to find a way to be able to meet in the middle where we can allow our people that work for us to at least enjoy their lives. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're paying somebody wages where they can't even put food on the table, how can you expect them to love what they do? And I'm going to tell you, there's something very sinister here that we're seeing with these people pushing legislation saying that we're going to allow children to go back to the workforce. Because make no mistake about it, if you think that the rich kids are going to go to work, you're wrong. What's going to happen is poor kids are going to be going to work. And they're going to be going to work because they need to help their family survive. But now you take a kid that's 13 years old and you give them a job. Now you're not going to pay that 13-year-old the same wage as you pay that 25-year-old. You're going to give that 13-year-old even less. They're not going to get minimum wage. They're going to get sub-minimum wage because they're kids. What do they need the money for? For the movies on the weekend? We're going to let them work, and then they can go to the movies and buy them a soda and a bag of popcorn, and they'll be fine. But the truth is those young kids are going to go to work. And a lot of those kids who have never, ever had a job before are going to think that $5.30 an hour is huge. Hell, I was able to buy me a new Nintendo game last month. That's what they're going to think. And then what's going to happen is they're going to start thinking it's more important that I work than I go to school. It's more important for me to work. And then they're going to start quitting school, working. And then what happens is they're going to wake up one day, 5-10 years down the road, and they're going to realize that they're still working in a dead-end, shitty job that they got when they were 13 years of age. And now they don't have no high school education, no college education, and there's no upward momentum for them. And now they're stuck in that job. Do they have time to be able to go through the process to get their GED? Maybe they don't, because they're still poor, because that bullshit job that was given to that 13-year-old is still a bullshit job that doesn't do anything except allow an employer to daggone get somebody to work for less pay so that they can increase their profits.
Yeah, that's something Republicans are pushing, to lower the age that you can work. It feels like we're in the 1920s.
It is. It's because it is. It is. And make no mistake about it. You got people at the top that are worried that white people may one day become the minority. And because of that, they're going to do everything and anything that they can do to make sure that they cripple people of color in being able to elevate themselves out of poverty. I mean, look at the things that are going on in our country. We've got people out there trying to push legislation that says that we want to make a person pass a drug test before we allow them to be able to draw any government assistance. Let me tell you something. I don't draw government assistance, even though the chairwoman of the Republican Party in West Virginia said that my military retirement was a welfare check. But I'm going to tell you, I think that taking a gummy is phenomenal for your sleep. And if I'm someplace and cannabis is legal and somebody sticks it in my face, I toke that shit up. And I don't care. I don't care, because why not? Why not? I think it's smart, but make no mistake about it. We've got people in this country that are literally just angered that it's losing its grip on power. The people, the white, old, rich people are losing their grip on power, and they're doing everything in their power to keep that. And that's why now we're watching how Supreme Court justices have always been courted by these billionaires. Now we know that Justice Thomas and Justice, I forget his name, goodness gracious, Kavanaugh, they're in the pockets of the filthy rich. And the bad part about it is that because they're the highest court in the land, we've really never put anything in the works to check them when they go rogue. And that's exactly what they're doing now. I saw a commercial that Justice Clarence Thomas tried to put out that said, I'm just a good old guy that enjoys a good old Walmart parking lot and a campground filled with campers.
I come from regular stock. I don't have any problem with going to Europe, but I prefer the United States. I prefer seeing the regular parts of the United States. I prefer the RV parks. I prefer the Walmart parking lots to the beaches and things like that. There's something normal to me about it.
For more than 2 decades, Clarence Thomas has accepted luxury trips virtually every year from Mr. Crow without disclosure.
Because he wanted people to think that him on the Supreme Court, he's just a good old down-home boy that just likes a good honesty and likes to enjoy going to Walmart. And the truth is he's nothing but that. The truth is that for the last 20 years, he's been going on free vacations valued at over $500,000 each on private Lear jets and yachts. And he's had the education of a person that he basically raised, paid for by the billionaire. You know, he's gotten his mother's home purchased by the billionaire. And then the billionaire goes and fixes the house up and lets his mothers live in it for free. I mean, folks, it's where we're at. It's corruption. And we need to address it. We need to stop these people. And people like Clarence Thomas need to be impeached and ran out of office. And we need to have a clean house. And the truth is that anybody who's paying attention, they are seeing how the Republicans are. And it's disgraceful. The problem is there's also a lot of people in this country that are poorly educated that for some odd reason think that they're now Republicans, poor Republicans, which is an oxymoron, by the way, because they don't exist. But the Republican Party has convinced these daggone poor people that they've got to vote Republican because Republicans care. And the truth is, Republicans don't give two shits about them. And the Republicans don't give two shits about the poor. But they sure are milking them for them votes, aren't they? And I'm going to tell you, I sure love to see all these people that try to act like they're so patriotic. I get into arguments with these jackaloons all the damn time because they're patriotic. I never saw one of them pick up a rifle and man a post next to me in Iraq or Afghanistan. Not once. All these people running around here with their flashing their weapons and stuff. Yeah, they want to scare local people, but the truth is they never had the guts to pick up a rifle and man a post. And that's a fact. They're chicken shit warriors.
Well, Ojeda, how long were you stationed in Iraq and Afghanistan for?
I got a little over 3 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. I did a year in Korea. I did 2 years in Germany. And I did a lot of time away from my wife and my kids. And the sad part about it is even when I was home, I was away from my wife and my kids. You know, when you are a combat leader, you're training. You know, we were on ranges. We were in the field all the time. Yeah. And that's just the way that it is. You know, for you to, we have a saying that says the more you sweat during training, the less you bleed in battle. And that's a fact. And I'm going to tell you, I'm ashamed at how much time I spent away from my wife and my kids, to the point where that was the major factor that made me go ahead and take the decision to retire as a major. I was actually selected. I was getting ready to pin lieutenant colonel. I was actually supposed to pin lieutenant colonel on the very day that I retired from the United States military. And the reason why I did that was because I finally sat down and I started looking at things. And I realized that 6 of the last 10 years that I was with my wife and my kids, I wasn't with my wife and my kids. I was in combat zones. I was in Haiti for the earthquake. I mean, you name it. I deployed all over Honduras, Jordan, Iraq, Afghanistan. I went to all those places and I thought that was the best thing in the world for me to do and to be. And I'm surrounded here now with all kinds of things hanging on the walls, and I'm proud of those things. But I will tell you that I'd give every bit of this away to be able to go back.
Have more family time.
Spend more time with my kids. You know, my wife raised my kids. My wife raised my kids. Because I wasn't there. And even when I was there, I wasn't there. You know, because I loved the military so much. To me, when I was a sapper platoon leader, it was my job to be in the woods. Every chance we got, we were in the woods. You know, when I was a company commander, I knew when I took command, the brigade commander told me, I want you to take this company because this is the only company that's deploying to Iraq. But I want you to command the company. So make no mistake about it. I said, yes, sir. Right. But then I immediately went into training mode because make no mistake about it, I got to get a company ready to go and conduct its mission in combat. And the last thing I want to do is bury my troops. So we were gone. My whole company was in the woods, and we were going through training, and we were doing it all the time. Every chance we got, we were in the field conducting our wartime mission. And then you get on a plane and you fly over. And then about a month goes by. The first month goes by pretty quick. And then you start realizing, I miss my family. And then you start realizing, I wish I wouldn't have daggone spent so much daggone time away from them while I was home. Because now I really miss them bad. And I don't have the ability to see them right now. And that's how it goes. And then you spend the rest of your time in your deployment, and all you do is miss your family. And, you know, and as a commander, I was going outside the wire every day on missions. And I was worried about losing my troops. I was worried, you know, there's just so many things, you know. And then you come home. And you get home, and it's the greatest day of your life when you get off that plane and you look over and you see the families standing over there, you know, inside the hangar where you're getting ready to march your troops into, and they're waiting for you, and they're excited to see, and your kids have, you know, hello daddy signs, and you're so excited. And you get back, and you take a 4-day pass, and you spend time with your family, and then you go right back to work. And then you find out that you're going to be going back on deployment again within the next year. So it doesn't stop. You go right back to training, and that's just how it is. And that's how it is. You know, or you leave a job and go to another job that's deploying. I dealt with that. You know, and then I left that job, walked up the street, and 6 days later deployed back to Iraq as the chief of operations for the 20th Airborne Engineers. So a lot of time. I was married to a very strong wife. If I wasn't, we wouldn't have lasted. We would not have lasted.
No, yeah, I can see that, because she has to be very strong for you to be gone very long.
She is. And my kids are amazing. I have amazing children that are wonderful and are good people because their mother raised them. If it was me, I mean, hell, I'll tell you, I'll never forget the first time my son come to me because he had a problem with a bully. First thing I did was I said, okay, son, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your hand like this, 4 fingers, like this, kind of double them over, and pop him right there in the damn throat. I said, you pop him right there in that throat, I guarantee you he ain't going to be able to breathe, and he ain't going to be able to talk right for at least an hour. But he ain't never going to mess with you again, son. You pop him in his throat. My son looked at me and he said, why would I ever do that, Daddy? I'll just make him my friend. And then I was like, okay, I guess that works too.
Yeah.
You know, but ultimately, you know, I just automatically went to the combat mentality. As a combat soldier. Yeah, if you pick on me, then it's on. I mean, it's just how it is, man. You know, I don't give a shit. It is what it is. You know, knuckle up. That's it.
Yeah, that's funny though. And I agree 100% with what you said about the 4-day. Like, my brother's in the Army, and he gets so happy when he gets his 4 days.
Yeah, I lived 5 hours away from the hometown that I grew up in. And I'm going to tell you, you know, when I first met my wife, I was enlisted, stationed at Fort Bragg. And I will tell you, there was nothing in this world that I loved more than a 4-day pass. Because I jump in my car as soon as I got done with work, and I was gone. And I would get home. I would get home right before midnight. And, you know, usually I would, you know, she knew I was coming home, and I would at least go by and get to see her, you know, get to see her and give her a kiss and tell her I'll see you tomorrow. And then we'd spend the 4-day weekend together. And we, you know, it was just the greatest time. And it's a big morale boost, you know. And the best thing, the United States military, you know, they understand the struggle and they understand the stress that soldiers are put through. The United States military, I know at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, there is at least one 4-day pass every month. And usually you'll get like maybe 1 or 2. Sometimes there's a 3-day and a 4-day. But they understand how important it is for people to be able to have downtime, to be able to go off and enjoy themselves. And there's a lot of things that the military does. You know, for Easter and Thanksgiving, I'm going to tell you, you ain't never in your life seen a better prepared meal than what happens at our dining facilities. And, you know, people can talk crap all they want about our military cooks. Those are some of the most important people in any unit. Because you may talk shit about them. They have the hardest hours in the military. They are up at 2:30 in the morning and they're at work at 3. And they're working to make sure that they've got 1,200 soldiers that they got to cook breakfast for. And then they got to get lunch prepared. And then they get to leave and the lunch crowd shows up and passes out the lunch. And then they got to prepare the dinner for another 1,200 troops. And, you know, they got the worst hours. And then you go to combat and you find yourself like I did on a friggin' combat outpost that didn't have no dining facility. And we relied on our cooks and they were out there. I mean, we were so out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I was a major. I had to burn shit. I had to wash dishes. It is what it is. Everybody has a role that they got to play. And you don't play that bullshit. I'm a major. I don't wash dishes. No, because everybody has to work. But you also had your cooks. And let me tell you something. When you come back off of a friggin' combat op and they got a nice hot cup of soup for you, believe me, or a hot coffee for you, it's a morale boost, and it really is.
Wow. I bet it's like so amazing just coming back to like the food after all you guys been in the field and all that.
Oh man. I mean, to me, man, it's just, my wife always made it special. She always made it special. She always did things for me, man. I remember I come home one time and she bought me a brand new truck.
What?
Yeah. And I loved it, man. You know, it's a lot of people don't understand, when you're in the military and you're a leader. Leaders, it's not just about you. You know, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care if you're a non-commissioned officer or an officer. If you're a leader, then your spouse has a role to play. You know, when you are a platoon leader and your platoon sergeant, your wife and his wife become very close. Because if you deploy, your wife and his wife are the ones that's going to be expected to take care of those younger wives, to make sure that those younger wives aren't doing without, to make sure that those younger wives aren't being preyed upon by some of these other companies out there that, raise the rent and do things like that. And that's how it works. And everybody in the platoon, all the soldiers in the platoon get to know who the wives are. You actually have events where, you get everybody together, and it's an event where everybody gets to meet each other. You have recreational days that are really nothing more than days that are put in place to allow everybody in the company. You're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to wear civilian clothes. You're going to come out here. We're going to have a big cookout. We're going to have games. It's all the platoons are against each other in softball, and we're going to have basketball. We're going to have tug of war. You're going to do all those things, and it's just a morale booster. But that stuff's important because if you are in the military and it's all work and no play, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to have a successful marriage. You're not going to have a successful platoon. When you are kind to your troops, I had a soldier that came to me because his wife, whenever he was gone to the field, the landlord was very, very disrespectful to his wife. So he was brand new private. But he was mine. So,
and the husband was away?
Well, his husband was my troop. So we go out to the field for 2 weeks. She's by herself and getting mistreated. So what I did was I went to the base housing, and I said, this soldier's wife needs to be moved from the civilian world to the on-base housing. Sometimes it could take up to a year before a person got on-base housing. But I went in and I pitched a fit because I said, look, we can't wait a year because either my soldier's going to go home and kill that damn landlord or I'm going to go kick a dog shit out of that damn landlord.
Yeah.
But because I did that, they got moved to the top of the list and they got a place. Wow. I didn't know until like 3 months later, I get this package in the mail and I open it up and it's caribou meat and all kinds of dehydrated, salmon and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, what is this? It was from his father. His father, I did not know, he never told me, was a full bird colonel.
What?
But because I did what I did for his son's wife, his father he showed up one day at the company, full bird colonel, walk in to see Lieutenant Ojeda. He outranked my battalion commander. Everybody was like, what the fuck, man? Ojeda's got a damn full bird colonel here. They thought I did something wrong.
Yeah.
We ended up becoming great friends. And I will tell you, in Iraq, he came and visited me when I was in Iraq. He came and visited me when I was in Afghanistan. I took him outside the wire and we did missions, but he was able to do that,
Wow, that's pretty cool.
You take care of your people. You take care of your people going to take care of you. That's a fact.
That's facts.
So, another combat soldier that we've talked about before, Tulsi Gabbard.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers who are driven by cowardly wokeness, who divide us by racializing every issue and stoking anti-white racism.
They say no money to give our teachers raises, no money for the opioid crisis. Families are forced into debt so their loved ones can get health care.
So she went from talking about health care to talking about cowardly wokeness and anti-white racism. I mean, folks, she's full of shit. Tulsi Gabbard recognized in 2020 that she can never win a Democratic Party primary because both the left and the center flanks of the Democratic Party, they don't like her. So her only option, if she wants real power, like presidential power, is to run in the Republican Party because they have seemingly embraced her.
I was wondering what you think about her because we used to really respect her, and now she's become like a full-on.
Me and Tulsi Gabbard used to text back and forth on our phones and stuff like that, and I've completely deleted her contact information. First and foremost, when she chose to show up and be on Tucker Carlson's show, I lost it. She's about money. She's about trying to tap into that because those people that do what she does now makes a lot of money from it, but here's the thing. Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line on saying that, you're not going to follow that path? I would have never in my life thought that Tulsi Gabbard would have taken that path, but she's taken it. And I have nothing for Tulsi Gabbard anymore. Fox News does not care about the military. They can beat their chest all they want. They don't give two shits about veterans because all you have to do is look at their voting records and see that they absolutely vote against every freaking thing that is pushed that supports the veteran. And that's an absolute fact. So I don't give two shits of what the Republicans want to say. They vote against veterans' health care every freaking time there's a vote. It's the same thing with the school shootings. It's a mental health problem. Okay, here's legislation that's going to address mental health, and they vote against it. So piss on them and piss on her. If that's who she wants to hang out with, then fine. I know who you are now. You're not in my circle no more.
Yeah. Just a few more random questions. AI is becoming like a big thing. Like they can change your look. They can use your voice. Like it seems like a lot of trouble is going to come from that. And also I wonder how are we going to do with when AI takes all the jobs like artists and
that's one of the things where it's basically, I think Andrew Yang spoke about this, saying that there's going to come a time when we're just going to have to give people a wage a monthly wage. Everybody gets paid this much, and that's how it's going to have to be, because, you know, AI is going to do away with all the jobs. I mean, at the end of the day, when you walk into Walmart, it's checkout, self-checkout. Every place now is self-checkout. You walk into a McDonald's, it's hit the button, self-checkout. You know, they just now opened a McDonald's that is the first McDonald's that has nobody in it. Everything is done with machines.
What?
So, and you got to think, the people who own the company, wow, that's pretty amazing. You mean I don't have to pay nobody's salary? I don't ever have to worry about paying anybody's health care benefits, retirements. I pay for this building and I pay for the technology, but the technology does everything itself. And all I do now is rake in all the money, and I don't have to worry about paying nobody but myself. It's going to get that way. And when we got people in this country, people like Elon Musk, they don't give a shit about us. Elon Musk don't care about us. He doesn't care about elevating us. Elon Musk cares about elevating himself. You know, that's what he cares about. They're not good people. You know, they're not people that get shit done. They are only people who find the technology and then they buy it. And then they claim to act as if they made it. You know, I'm going to tell you the biggest thing, the biggest anger that I ever had was when I found out that tax-paying money is what built the launch pad in New Mexico for Elon Musk's space flight. Why is my tax dollars or your tax dollars or even the people of New Mexico's tax dollars going to the richest man in the world so that he can play bullshit games with these rockets and take up people that he wants to take up? You see, as far as I'm concerned, I wish they would all just move to friggin' Mars and stay there. I don't give two shits about it. I don't care if Elon Musk's aircraft crashes into Richard Branson's rocket. I don't care. I'll lose no sleep over it, because the truth is they don't give two shits about me. You know, they don't. They don't. And Elon Musk has been a disaster for Twitter. You know, I refused to pay for my blue check mark that I had forever. I no longer have the blue check mark. But I'll be damned. I'll not put a single penny in that son of a bitch's pocket. You know, and once again, you know, here he is. He's like a Donald Trump, you know, was raised in pure wealth and then wants to act like they worked their asses off to get what they got. Donald Trump never lifted a single finger to get any damn thing that he got. And neither has daggone Elon Musk. I mean, his father owned an emerald mine. And when he was a kid, he ran around with emeralds in his pockets. Wow. Gee, you relate so much to that young Mexican child whose mother and father are trying to sneak him across the border to keep away from being used as a drug mule with the cartel. Yeah, big difference.
The debates are evidently not going to happen for the DNC or the GOP. I was wondering what you think about that there's not going to be any debates at all, like no primaries.
Well, I mean, I don't really care for that, because I think that the debates are good. And I think that, you know, it's kind of messed up to think that there's more than just one person running. So if more than one person is running, regardless of the party, the people that get to select deserve the opportunity to hear from both, to hear from all of them. You know, if you don't know this guy, but you see this guy every day in the news, then you're more likely to support this guy. But the truth is, this guy may have better ideas. This guy may actually focus on issues that benefit you, the taxpayer, a hell of a lot more than this guy does. You know, let's look at West Virginia. Let's talk about Joe Manchin. In West Virginia, the only people that benefit from Joe Manchin have the last name Manchin, or they're on Joe Manchin's team. Other than that, nobody else is benefiting from Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is now going to be challenged by our governor of West Virginia, sack of shit Jim Justice, who literally doesn't do anything for the people. He's a governor so that they basically can use his coal mines and nobody can inspect his coal mines because he's the governor. So he can make a shit ton of money. But at the end of the day, he ain't helping nobody else. But because there are a lot of poorly educated people, Jim Justice shows up with this bulldog and everybody goes, he's got baby dog. Let's take a picture with baby dog. And those dumbasses will vote for him because of that. But at the end of the day, Joe Manchin will do nothing for the people of West Virginia, but neither will Jim Justice. We don't have we are living South Park when it's a douche and a turd sandwich. That's who it is. That's who it is. It's the douche versus the turd sandwich. The episode of South Park. That's what West Virginia is about to face. And I mean, honestly, if there are 10 people that are Democrats that want to run, then there should be debates. And I'm going to tell you right now, both parties are wrong by saying that we're not going to do that, because basically the Republicans are saying we're just going to do Donald Trump. Now, that's fine. Okay. But what's going to happen right before the election starts? And Jack Smith finally locks Donald Trump's ass up. Maybe not lock him up in jail, but convict him of a crime that says, I'm sorry, but you can no longer serve as the president of the United States. As far as I'm concerned, he should already be losing that capability because he was found guilty in the sexual assault charge from E. Jean Carroll. As far as I'm concerned, he's a freaking sexual predator for life. He should have to register. There should be a freaking sign in front of the front gate of Mar-a-Lago. But what happens if they take him out of the running? Well, there was no backup. There was no debates. Nobody really knows these other 3 or 4 candidates in the Republican Party. So what happens is nobody really knows who's the best. And then sometimes the wrong person gets elected, and sometimes the right person loses to the wrong person. And that could be a disaster for our country, because that was the disaster for our country. Donald Trump did not elevate the United States of America. He didn't make America great again. He made America hate again. That was it. He didn't elevate people's lives. We lost more coal jobs under Donald Trump than we did under anybody else. Donald Trump didn't make nothing great again. Donald Trump got in there and used that presidency to pad his pocket, to pad his children's pocket. Ivanka and Jared wins, that's 4 more years that he doesn't have to worry about going to court. And that's 4 years. That's 4 years where he gets to try to set the stage for him to be a dictator for life. That's the only reason why he's running, because he knows that if he doesn't run, he's going to go down, and it's only going to get worse. You know, there already has come out that there was a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old that Donald Trump supposedly raped. And make no mistake about it, 6 days before the 2016 election, that 13-year-old disappeared. People are still trying to figure out who was the 12-year-old named Maria, and where did the 13-year-old girl's lawsuit go? Because it disappeared. And at the end of the day, could Donald Trump have paid off? We already know that he don't mind paying people off. But I'm going to tell you, Donald Trump only wants to be president to protect him from basically being prosecuted and going down, because he knows there's no other way out. Donald Trump knows right now, Donald Trump will be in court for the rest of his life. For the rest of his life. And there's a lot more lawsuits that are coming out that we don't even know about yet, but are absolutely coming out. And it's going to happen. And that's what's going to happen. And why not? Couldn't happen to a better person. Piss on him.
You think he'll ever get jail time?
You know, I think it's hard because you think about a prison and how hard it is to maintain, you know, a prison. Putting a Donald Trump in a prison would be probably the worst thing in the world that you could do for the people that work in the prison. But I do think that there's no reason why they can't put Donald Trump in a daggone apartment someplace where he can no longer play golf, where he's no longer living on Mar-a-Lago, that says these are your quarters and you're not allowed to leave this room. And you're going to be here for the next 10, 15, 20 years until you die. The only time you're going to leave this room is to get in a van and go to your next court case. That's it. And while for the rest of the time you have on this earth, you are going to get nickeled and dimed by everybody. Oh, those 154 police officers that were wounded during the January 6th, you're going to owe every single one of them. You're going to owe all these other people that you have defamed. You know, Stormy Daniels, who he continues to call a horseface and a liar. You know what? If you think for 1 second that she's not looking going, damn, E. Jean Carroll just got $5 million because he called her a liar? Shit. Get in there. Hop on up there, Stormy. Get that stuff. Get that money, because guess what? They can, and they'll win, because Donald Trump is his worst enemy. He's the one out here saying this garbage. You know, I didn't say that. Hold on, stop. What about this? Well, okay. He said it. Donald Trump is the worst person ever. And his lawyers, I don't even know how he gets lawyers, because he doesn't pay them, because they all lose. Because why? Why do they lose? Because they can't control their person. You know, Donald Trump, they told him, we don't want you to testify. But Donald Trump came down anyway, and he still allowed them to basically, you know, let him say what he had to say. And it ruined him. It hurt him, because Donald Trump does not know how to not lie. Because Donald Trump, if you put Donald Trump on the stand and say, Donald Trump, did you win? Yes, I did. He knows he didn't win. You know, Donald Trump, you know, it's funny, because Donald Trump, during the election night, in places that Donald Trump was winning, Donald Trump was screaming, stop counting the vote! Stop counting the vote! Because he was ahead. And then 5 minutes later, he's on another channel in a state where he's losing, and he's going, keep counting the vote. You know, that's Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, when he says, if the election is fair, I will honor it. It's only, he said it. He's actually stood in front of a camera and says, if I lose, I just say it was fake. I say it was rigged. If I win, I say it's the most honest ever. And he has said that verbatim, exactly what I just said. He said, and it's all on tape.
Well, he said, it reminded me like when he was endorsing people in the midterms. He's like, if they win, the people I endorsed, I think I should get full credit for it. And if they didn't, right, I don't think I should. If they lose, if they lose, he said, well, they were low energy. We really didn't like them. They should be happy I gave them some money.
Well, I think if they win, I should get all the credit. And if they lose, I should not be blamed at all. Okay.
You know, I mean, Donald Trump is that way, but that's what happens when you raise your child to be a little bastard. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump. And you know, if you read about Donald Trump, and I'm going to tell you, read the books, read Mary Trump's book, read Michael Cohen's book. Mary Trump will tell you in her book how Donald Trump was raised to basically always be right. Donald Trump's dad favored Donald Trump over his brothers because Donald Trump had this thing about him that said he didn't give a shit. Donald Trump would punch a girl in the face if he thought she was winning in something. Donald Trump had an older brother, Mary Trump's father. Mary Trump's father did not want to follow in the footsteps of his father because he had watched his father basically in business do nothing but shit all over everybody, a colossal racist asshole. And his father decided that he wanted to be a pilot, and he became a pilot flying for, I believe, Delta Airlines. But Donald Trump would make fun of his dad and call his dad a bus driver in the sky. And Donald Trump's father thought that was good. He thought, Donnie's the one that I need, because Donnie is the one that will be cruel. Donnie is the one that will lie whenever he has to make sure that we always win and get what we want. And that's why Donald Trump was elevated the way that he is. That's why Donald Trump cannot accept defeat from nobody. If Donald Trump is in a room with a 6-year-old child and they had to run across the room, Donald would trip that little bastard and win the race and then parade himself like he just beat, one of the fastest people on the planet. Because that's how Donald Trump was raised. He does not have the capacity to be humble, to tell the truth. And that's why it's so dangerous, because we have a lot of people in this country that are poorly educated, that think that Donald Trump speaking very negatively about a woman, saying that a woman was bleeding from her you-know-what, they thought that was funny. When Donald Trump called Hillary Clinton names, they laughed and they thought it was funny. And is that the person that we want sitting in the highest seat in the country? Because I'll tell you, in 4 years, he embarrassed us on a global scale. He didn't win. He shut down our government for spite. And the only reason why our government even started back up is because members of Congress told him, we are going to have to ride buses because planes are now being grounded because the airlines do not have the ability, since they can't pay nobody their wages because the government was shut down. The mechanics were not able to show up at the airports and conduct the maintenance inspections of the aircraft. So they had to ground everything. That's the only reason why Donald Trump's shutdown of the government was ended, because the Republicans said, look, I ain't riding the friggin' bus all the way to friggin' Idaho, and this is going to hurt you worse, because it was. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, we have a lot of people in this country that need to be educated, and that's what I do every night, and that's what you guys do. The Life Taco Podcast, you guys are trying to educate people. Me coming on here, there's going to be some people that listen to this that don't like what I say, and they have the right to. They can also go fuck themselves, because I'm going to tell you right now, I know what the hell I'm saying, and I can back it. I read every single day. I absolutely watch news channels. I research everything that I do and say.
Yeah, that was going to be my last question. What are some news sources that you would recommend, ones that you watch and read? I'm
going to tell you, I watch all the news clips of MSNBC. CNN really shit the bed on this last one here. But I still think that they have some pretty reputable people. I'm going to tell you, the Palmer Report. I love the Palmer Report. Daggone it. I love the Palmer Report. Glenn Kirshner. If you're not watching Glenn Kirshner, you're an idiot. If you're not following the Midas Touch, you're an idiot. I mean, I'm just going to be upfront and honest with you, man. That's exactly where it is. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say this right now on here, because I am no longer the national spokesman for No Dim Left Behind. I'm going my own path. I'm starting a PAC called Turn Left. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to do more for candidates. I'm going to tell you that we should be doing a lot more than raising money off of candidates. We need to be helping those candidates. We need to be meeting with those candidates and talking about digital marketing, talking about social media, talking about fundraising, talking about what you need to do to be able to get people willing to make phone calls for you, willing to door knock for you. There's all kinds of things out there. There's all kinds of things that are useful for candidates out there. And I'm going to tell you that there's a lot of places, and I'm not throwing stones at No Dim Left Behind. I'm not. But I'm going to tell you that Turn Left PAC, we're going to do more. We're going to do more. And I don't put my name on anything unless I know for a fact. I know the people that I'm working with on this, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to do more. And the reason why, because almost everybody that we've got on my new PAC was on my 2018 congressional campaign. And let me tell you something. We did everything right. We did everything right in that race. And our goal right now is to not only help candidates in terms of finances, but to help them where it really counts, to help them with digital marketing, to help them with social media, to help them know how important it is to find people out there willing to make phone calls and knock on doors for them, to show them how important it is to do your live videos. The people need to see you. You know, when you start a live video and you do that live video 2 days a week, do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you dedicate 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock where you are sitting in front of a camera and you're answering any questions that are asked of you, because that's what's most important. Your constituents will see that, because Republicans don't do that. Republicans don't do that. My Republican opponent, when I ran in 2018, would not meet with the people. She would not debate me. She just made these bullshit commercials where she stood in front of the camera and said, I'll do whatever Donald Trump wants. And sadly, those dumbasses in Southern West Virginia have now reelected her twice. And she's never done the first damn thing. She's brought back not the first damn dollar. The only thing she got caught doing is trying to take credit for the infrastructure bill that she voted against. But make no mistake about it. Who's going to run against her? There's one guy. He was the guy that was arrested because he was one of the first ones through the front door in the damn Capitol on January 6th. He's absolutely dumb as a damn stump. He had won his delegate seat in Charleston, West Virginia, but lost it before he even got to sit in it on the first damn day because he got arrested on January the 6th. He's now thrown his hat in the ring and he's running for Congress. Now let that sink in. And guess what? Doesn't matter which one of those two win, because both of them are incompetent dumbasses that can't do shit. And one of them is really, really dumb. I mean, Carol Miller's not a smart person, but I'm telling you, this new guy, I'm going to tell you, man, this dude is absolutely dumb as a damn stump. He's the kind of guy that has to first pick up a pile of dog shit, give it a taste test, and then lay it down and say, don't step there, it's shit. Yeah, that's the kind of guy he is.
He's the only guy that can get you to endorse Carol Miller.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad. I'd love nothing more than to see him face to face too, because I'd love to smack his teeth in.
Well, thank you for coming on, Major Ojeda. That was a fun, informative.
Always enjoy the Life Taco, man. Always enjoy the Life Taco. Now, look, I'm not trying to push violence on anybody, but this guy has ran his mouth on social media to me before, and at the end of the day, if that's how you are, then you be about what you say. If you want to talk shit, then you be about it. And you come get you some.
You gotta tell him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to come back on sometime, Major Ojeda.
I need everybody also to follow Ojeda Live on Twitter. On Facebook and on YouTube. Ojeda Live. I go live every night at 8:30 to 9 o'clock for 30 minutes. I do memes of the day and I do top stories in the news. So you guys follow me, and let me tell you something. I'll always promote the Life Taco podcast.
I'm gonna go follow that after this.
I'll make sure to put all your links and stuff in the bio too, like always.
I appreciate it, man. You guys take care of yourself. And like I said, anytime y'all want to talk about these raggedy ass Republicans, I'm your guy.